Hello and welcome everyone to yet another episode of FinTech Pioneers. Today is quite a special day because we have an awesome speaker with us. But as you all know, FinTech Pioneer is our show at which we bring the real pioneers of the FinTech world from around the world talking to us about how FinTech industry is transforming our economy and how it is making a significant impact in our life and what more to expect out of it. On that note, we have Suhail Samir today, who is the CEO of BharatPe, one of probably the fastest growing company in India in the world of fintech, and really transforming the way in which India is paying money. People in India are getting and sending money and using BharatPe on a various levels of platform. It's also one of the fastest rise of fintech unicorn story in India. On that note, let's talk to Suhail, understand his leadership style, understand how he has built what he has built and what he aspires to do next. Suhail, welcome to the show FinTech Pioneers. And we
Thank
would
you so
love
much,
to have,
Bhavin.
thank you, Suhail, and we are excited to have you on board today. If you can please share a bit about yourself first, who Suhail is, and then we talk a bit more about what you do.
No, absolutely. I'm actually an accidental fintech entrepreneur in a way. My background is all combination of consulting and consumer. I spent bunch of my life in McKinsey, did everything under the sun at the firm, which is sort of very normal for a McKinsey consultant. When I left McKinsey, I was surprisingly leading McKinsey's clean tech, climate change, carbon, renewables practice for Asia. And and then I actually ended up building a consumer business for one of my clients, Sanjeev Goenka, as sort of the CEO of that business. So I launched a few brands in India, which as luck would have it, became successful and sort of created my name in the consumer space. And then ended up sort of running a listed company, which was sort of a conglomerate within a conglomerate. Didn't like it at all. And consumer was fantastic, but suddenly life became from building something to, as I started running this listing company, to managing basically a combination of boards and investors, etc., etc. Right? And at least for me, these are all exciting parts as long as they are 20-25% of your time. If as long as 75% of your time is going into building something big, that's very, very exciting, right? And suddenly the odds were sort of flipped. And that's when I met sort of Ashneer and Bhavik, sort of, and Shashwat, the founders of BharatPe, the original founders of BharatPe. And this seemed like a very interesting play to me, right? This is fintech, but this is at the confluence of fintech and what I know, which is the retail and the kirana shop guy, which was sort of always my calling, right? So here I am, 18 months into fintech now, and still learning, but very, very exciting times.
Awesome. So what you said is so true. I am a consultant as well, so I absolutely relate to you. And there are simply, I believe there are two types of people, right? People who are business builder and people who are administrator. You rarely find somebody who is happy to turn from builder to administrator or administrator to a builder, right? And you just got to know what type you are and you got to engage with that kind of stuff. But great. But Suel, tell us about BharatPe. What's happening at BharatPe? What you guys are doing new these days, and what do you plan to do
Very
more?
exciting, very exciting times. We are struggling to cope up with it, but very exciting. As you know, we started as a merchant only business and said we will do payments for free, right? And when we came in, UPI was already big, but it was very odd that when Bhavin is transferring money to Suhail, it's free for everyone. But when Bhavin is transferring money using the same architecture to actually a shopkeeper, it's free for Bhavin, but the shopkeeper is paying some MDR, right? So, and that's the opportunity we saw and said, if we make payments for free, we can really scale up the network. It also meant we had to figure out where money will be made, right? We are doing payments for free, you have to find alternate sort of ways of money. And that's where sort of lending came in, right? Because I think what is also important in Indian context to understand is 60-70% of these shopkeepers, actually no one gives credit to, right? They don't file income taxes or file sort of very less profit income taxes. A lot of the dealing is in cash. There is no real way to underwrite, even if a bank were to try and underwrite these guys. And sort of the payment flow allowed us that opportunity, right? So, and we know how much money the guy at least is taking digitally, and therefore, at least to that extent, I can underwrite him and sort of offer him loans with my NBFC partners. And that's sort of the business we built over the first 2 years, 2.5 years of the company. I think as that started scaling very, very well, we realized that we are powering so many payments, right? We are powering $15 billion annualized TPV. For every transaction, there is also a consumer at the other side, right? So can we extend the credit thinking, if not the payment thinking? I'm not a big believer in payments. We do payments for actually monetizing the business on the lending side. I don't want to do payments for the sake of payments, but given we were sort of also interacting with so many consumers on each of these transactions, the realization was, can we actually build a consumer lending product in the form of buy now, pay later? And we launched this product called PostPay, which has been a raging success in the first 2 months. And sort of the last part, which is keeping us busy, is while all this was happening, I think we were also very clear that fintechs in India will get regulated one day. RBI has done a phenomenal job of fostering innovation. But when that innovation becomes systematic, RBI has to obviously figure out what is the best way to manage to prevent fraud and everything good for all the right reasons, right? So therefore, we were very clear that if lending is the core monetization, the right answer is to become a bank, and sort of and that's sort of the opportunity we got with PMC, and we bid for the bank, and sort of luckily for us, RBI found the combination of us and Centrum worthy of sort of running a bank. So yeah, life is very exciting. In the last 6 months, we moved from a merchant only business to a merchant plus consumer plus a bank, keeping everyone on their toes. Very new territory for us, but also incredibly exciting.
Awesome. Look, about 7 or 8 years back, I was one of those early people who was predicting what will be the future of finance and what will be the future of payments. And it was very few people at that time used to think that way, but I used to always give example of telcos, right? That what has happened to telecom is going to happen to payments, where your generic calls and data is free. It's free for all. That's not where you will get your revenue. You'll get revenue on the ancillaries that you serve on the top of it. And that becomes platform. And that's exactly is happening to payments world. And I think you are one of the first ones to make it happen and even show it that it can be a large success. But I genuinely believe this is the phenomenon which will go all over the world. Payments very soon will become free. And also the infrastructure is changing, with blockchain and cryptos and everything coming up. People's appetite to pay for transferring money is going to vanish at a rocket speed. So
Yeah.
if the payments company don't innovate, then they will be out of business in no time.
Absolutely. I think this is sort of our fundamental belief, right? And that's why we designed BharatPe in the way we designed it, because we were very clear that the MDR, as it's called, interchange as it's called, will tend to zero long term. In some areas like UPI, it became zero like very, very quickly. In some other areas like cards, etc., which have a bit more infrastructural cost, it will become zero over a period of time. But that's sort of the journey which cards are also going through, right?
Okay.
Amex used to be 5% in India, interchange 7-8 years back. Today it's 2%. A normal credit card used to be 2.5%. Today it's 1%, right? RuPay has made like credit debit free, right? So the world is sort of moving towards that direction. And as you rightly said, blockchain. Theoretically, if you add blockchain plus stablecoin combination, cross-border transactions are free, right?
Exactly.
And then like a lot of these businesses which are built on cross-border forex earnings no longer sort of exist, right? So I think the world will move towards frictionless payment and free payments. I think, and a lot of businesses whose sort of core is payments will have to sort of innovate, or they will sort of not struggle to keep up with the times.
Awesome. So, Suhail, what about BharatPe outside Bharat? Is that an option?
Not at all. Never say never. But India is such a massive market. Like we've right now touching the literally the top of the surface, right? And as more and more India becomes digital, and COVID has sort of helped in a way that digital penetration has gone into tier 2, tier 3. But there is still a bunch of India left, right? Today, we still are in sort of 150 cities. India is not 150 cities. Half of India is sort of outside of that, right? So just started lending. As our models become more and more robust, I think what we can do on the lending side is phenomenal, right? We've not even touched consumer. We launched it 2 months back. And on the consumer side, if you think about it at the highest level, only 3% of India is carded. Another 15% is credit, but not carded. And the remaining 80% is not even credit, right? They're all new to credit. How do you enable credit to them is such a massive opportunity that I think we are very clear that we want to sort of double down on these opportunities. Like 5 years later, we find something exciting outside. Yeah, why not? Can we export our tech to help other companies build what we built in India? Of course, why not? But we will, at least in our foreseeable future, we don't see an option of we being operating outside of India.
Awesome. So there is one more thing, right? There is a lot of competition in payment space. When you look around the payment space, the general feeling now that most VCs have, the most investors have, is that it's an overcrowded place with a massively low margin. And almost every day, a new payment company is popping up with some brilliant idea across the world. And in a place like India, I won't be surprised if there's one popping up every week, if not every day. And how do you see that rise of competition? And while you are still a new fintech, but the speed at which you are growing, very soon you will become incumbent. So how do you manage that whole thing of remaining fresh, live, and new, and not being categorized as incumbent?
So I think, you're right. Payment sees a lot of competition. A lot of people do payments, and which will also lead to what you were articulating earlier, which is payment margins will keep on getting thinner and thinner, right? I do believe if you're a payment company making money on payments, like you have 2 years to innovate, otherwise there is no future, right? And the monetization though can be very, very different, right? So I have taken the lending route. Someone may actually, like someone like PhonePe may actually take the commerce route. I don't know what route they will choose, but they may take a commerce route. Someone like a Google will probably take ad sales route, right? So because for them this is sort of incremental data. I think there are, and then there are sort of use cases on can you send incremental consumers to the shop, right, and drive a SaaS type of revenue, which someone like Dukaan is trying in their own way, right? So I think payments will continue to become crowded. You have to be at the, unfortunately, fortunately for all of us, whatever monetization we are building is on the back of being relevant in the payment space. So I'm not sort of trivializing. I have to be at the top of my game in payments, otherwise the lending monetization falls through. I think, so this will become a game of who is sort of at the forefront of innovation. And therefore, we don't sort of believe UPI is necessarily the end game. The end game may be something even simpler, even more seamless. Like a lot of people believed card is the end game. Now you have tap on phone and you don't suddenly need the edition machine, and that's potentially going to become big. Everyone thought UPI was seamless. Now you have blockchain, and if it becomes sort of mainstream, then you are basically adding the same convenience of UPI with potentially a even more secure transaction, right? So I think all payment companies still, no matter what the monetization is, need to spend 60-70% of their what you call the tech product bandwidth on continuing to innovate on payments. And that's sort of going to remain the game, while being very clear that payment is actually a cost of customer acquisition versus the real monetization.
So what are then the 3 key challenges for a fintech of your nature and size today?
Yeah. So I will actually put the first challenge as distraction. Like there is so much opportunity. There are like, if you ever sort of sit with sort of the 3-4 founders and our core team, you will never walk out of a meeting without like 3 additional ideas of what we can be doing, which are all massive opportunities. I think, and sometimes trying to do too many things and trying to be everything for everyone doesn't work. And a lot of companies have gone down that path and struggled, right? So a lot of the super apps, as we know of, have basically lost focus and struggled to drive the core monetization, right? So I think that's sort of one. The second is talent. Yeah. Especially on the tech side, you see how much like attrition on talent, inflation on talent, and it's all driven by tech talent doesn't exist in India. Like no matter what you say, we are engineers and all. Engineering degree does not teach you tech. Most of the tech talent, if you look to hire, where will you hire from? There are like 5 payment companies which are sort of cutting edge tech. There are probably 5 streaming companies which are cutting edge tech. There are maybe 3-4 e-commerce companies which are reasonably good tech, and that's about it. Like we probably employ collectively 20,000 people. If that's the pool you're working with, how do you keep on sort of attracting the right talent to be at the forefront of innovation, which is important, is sort of the biggest challenge, right? So probably even more so than being distracted, because distraction will automatically get solved because you will not have enough tech people to build those disruptions, right? So I think that's sort of number 2. And
on talent, it's quite an interesting topic. It's an issue across the world. On the digital side, on the crypto economy side, on the fintech side, we have a global issue. And I don't call it even dearth of talent. I actually call it war of talent, because the resources are so scarce that it's an outright war, right?
Yeah.
About 9 months back, I saw BharatPe's one of the advertisement for attracting talent was unbelievable for me, right? The kind of perks you were offering to simply attract, and that's a classic one. It's a clear war of talent, right?
Yeah,
and I think our fundamental issue is not just engineering degrees. I mean, most of us, I'm not sure if you are, I'm an engineer from India, but did I do engineering after that? No, I entered the world of finance and management consulting, and I continue to do that. And most engineers are like that in India for right or wrong reasons, right? But I think we need a lot of overhaul on how our education system works, how our vocational training works, right? The wave of change that we see now is not that, like in the olden days, we can expect a company called AppTac, which will come and start giving everybody certificate and it will change the world for us. It's not even that. We are in far more sophistication, and the speed at which languages are growing, the speed at which innovation are changing. We need people with a different mindset. We don't need learner bees. We need innovative thinker bees who have ability to work hard and who are driven. And this mindset change, I genuinely believe there's a lot to be done. And it's a generational issue. It's not going to get solved in a year or two.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we have a pool of 1 billion people, right? So it should not be that difficult to find talented people.
No, but it will take time, right? Because it has to be sort of, you have to at least go to 11th, 12th, if not sooner. And it's like a 6-year to start developing talent, and then they have to go through like at least 2-3 years in the corporate world to put that in practice, right? So and the good thing is tech, now everyone wants to be a techie, right? So half of us are regretting, why did we sort of move out of tech? We could have made a lot more money. So it will, demand supply does catch up in the medium term, but
and the flip side is that talent also has your problem one, distraction.
Yeah. Like I don't know of a techie who's not getting like 3 job offers a month, right? So and like, especially if you've been associated with successes like a Paytm or a BharatPe or whatever, then everyone just assumes that you must be like capable, right? So and so therefore even the average techies are like sort of in vogue right now, right? So but that's part of the journey, right? So 7-8 years back, this was true for management consultants. Today, it's true for techies. I think 5-10 years down the line, it will be true for someone else. Actually, 15 years back, it was for FMCG's sales and marketing folks, right? So every sort of talent pool goes through demand supply shocks, and then you need like 5-7 years to make it bring it back to normal, right? And that's what's happening on tech right now.
So you were also mentioning some third challenge. I would be keen to hear what you see as the third challenge for business. Yeah.
No, I think the third challenge for us is sort of how do we keep expanding the sort of the pie on the lending side, right? So because I think what happens is today you had no way to underwrite, then you suddenly had payments and you have a way to underwrite, but that pool is not large enough still, right? So I have like 7 million merchants, maybe I can lend to 1 million merchants. I today lend to like 0.25 million merchants. So there is still headroom for the next 2-3 years point of view. I will keep expanding the merchant network, obviously, also, and that will keep adding to the pool. But we have to also figure out sort of other ways of underwriting or other ways of lending, right? Whether it is whether it's the introduction of a secured loan portfolio, auto loan portfolio, which allows you to lend to lot higher people without going through that. Are you on the app for a year? How many payments have you done? Because as you think in a gold loan, you make the most money when the guy defaults, right? So we have to sort of constantly add products onto our lending side, which take time, which take effort, which take resources, and which takes us, and every effort sort of spent on building a new lending product is effort taken away from continuing to innovate on payments, right? So that tussle between how do I, am I driving payments or am I driving monetization? And how do I keep sort of both of them running at a steam which is sort of complementary is something I've seen. At least sometimes we over-index on one side and sometimes we go the other way. And that's sort of something we have to work with.
Suhail, how do you see competition for yourself, especially from the banks? Because as you get into smaller merchants and start lending them, you are essentially giving a very tough competition to small banks and community banks as well as cooperative banks, which are quite present in all those pockets. And
no, I see actually zero competition.
Sorry?
I see zero competition. I see zero competition. Like 95% of the people I have given a loan to, a bank will never give a loan. No bureau score, no ITR or loss-making ITR. Tell me which bank will lend to this. Will I give him 3 loans and after that a bank will want to give him a loan? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe not, because if you think from a bank's point of view, bank has actually fixed cost of underwriting, dispersal, collection.
Correct.
It's absolute dollars. It's not percentage of loan value.
Yeah.
If you're giving someone a 25,000 rupee loan, $300 loan, if the guy is going to pay you all interest on time for a 6-month loan, let's say even at a 20% rate of interest, you are making $6 a month, $36 over 6 months, actually reducing balance probably $20. That's already more than bank's cost of underwriting and collection. Banks make it's unfortunate, but the way the banking structure is, they are incentivized to do bigger loans. They are incentivized to do longer tenure loans. They 3 months, 6 months, short tenure, small loans never make money for a bank. They don't even want to do that. That's not a priority. Will bank innovate on the tech side to do this? Yeah, maybe. But to be honest, I think Bhavin, the other way to look at it is today 75% of India doesn't get a loan. Even if banks were to do it, the market is, I am not lent to even 1% of India, right? So the opportunity is massive, right? Even if more banks get it right, great. They will expand the market. They will sort of make it more mainstream.
Awesome. So a last question. With so many changes happening, right? And you said RBI is coming up with new regulations, but at the same time, BharatPe is not just about India story anymore. You have become a good example of success as a fintech in payment space globally. And globally, number of policymakers are now getting around, thinking, putting their thinking hat on and saying, how do we manage or how do we regulate this innovation in the fintech payment space? And especially with an angle of crypto getting added to it, because I'm sure you have seen most of the payments companies in last 10 years have somehow now shifted their focus in the crypto space. So with that in mind, what will be your key message to policymakers in India and policymakers globally?
So actually, I'm not educated enough to comment globally, but I think what I have sort of at least seen in India, I'm genuinely, you know, my background, like I used to do energy, power, etc. So I've seen regulators across a few industries. I'm genuinely impressed by how RBI is sort of approaching this. A lot of new products they don't even sort of tinker with, right? So say you do it, you explain to us how you're doing it. Hopefully you're not doing something illegal, you are not sort of running away with someone's money. As long as that's sacrosanct, you guys go ahead and build it out. And when sort of it becomes bigger, right? So for example, digital lending became bigger, and now sort of RBI is giving thought to how digital lending conditions should be done. Payments became bigger, RBI sort of started coming out with regulations on the payment gateway space. I think that DNA of letting innovation foster till it becomes structural is sort of a great DNA. I think like a lot of people will hold it against me, but I think crypto is a great invention. I'm actually less interested in crypto. I'm more interested in blockchain. Coins may change, Bitcoin may not exist 5 years down the line. But what the technology offers you, both from a payment, cross-border payment, securitization, digitization, accessibility, is brilliant. And I know sort of India is working on a policy framework around that, and I'm hopeful that sort of that's forward thinking, like a lot of the other things RBI has sort of come up with. I think we need to, from a sort of a global angle, we need to think through sort of cross-border a lot more. I met some fascinating companies over the last 1 year, which are thinking everything from a blockchain to gold to whatever to enable cross-border payments for free, right? So, and I think sort of policymakers need to sort of put their head together on how they will sort of be at the forefront of driving that it's done in the right way. Versus sort of having 50 models, some of them sort of debatable, right? So I think that's one place where I would expect a bit of sort of heads coming together approach. But from an India point of view, I'm genuinely fascinated with how RBI operates.
Awesome. Look, that particular part is quite exciting because this is kind of a revolution happening in the world and the future of money, right? Which we saw when everything moved from metal coins to a note, which was simply a promissory note, right? And that promissory note doesn't carry value, but carries a promise of value, right? And that was revolutionary at the time because you couldn't print it, you can easily carry it, you're not carrying a baggage of gold coins everywhere. And that led to our banking system, which fundamentally works on accounting system. It's a ledger where there are deposits and there are withdrawals, right? It's a pure ledger. It's all accounting. The real money in the fiat world, which is in form of physical currency globally, is just 7%. Everything else is technically
The ledger
e-money.
entry, absolutely.
It's a ledger entry, right? What blockchain is enabling us to do is get away from ledger entry and actually do a value transfer rather than doing a nostro vostro style settlement. No more settlements. It's a clear value transfer. So problem is that people are trying to fit this within our ledger entry system model and see how it will fit best there. What we really need is what you said, minds together, innovative thinking on how we actually make this much bigger and much more useful with a completely new thing. The old thinking won't be able to fit it.
Absolutely. Like, and again, I don't invest in crypto at all. I've invested in tons of blockchain startups. Because crypto, I'm not a big believer in. I may be sort of biased, but I think any commodity in Bitcoin is a commodity which has debatable supply is always going to be inflated. right? So and therefore that's where fiat comes in, right? And fiat on the back of blockchain enables exactly what you articulated: value transfer, real value transfer instantaneously, all recorded. No need to sort of move things, no need to sort of pay for transaction fees, no need to sort of actually sort of do a complicated ledger entry system, and sort of takes away like 80% of the load of the banking system if done well, right? So I'm sort of very excited about it. Let's see how it goes.
Awesome. Suhail, thank you so much for joining our show today. It was
My
fantastic,
pleasure.
very insightful. At the same time, all the best to you and BharatPe. As you said, you're just probably scratching the surface. India is huge, so we genuinely wish you all the best. And hopefully, you will not just prosper as a company, but you will bring changes to the life of people. Because when you give lending to young people, people who are below the value chain of banking system, you are essentially upgrading their lifestyle. You are enabling their important decisions of life which are dependent on money, whether it is health, whether it is education, and that can make a significant change to livelihood of people in India. So
No,
it's a big
absolutely.
task beyond just making money for shareholders. So I honestly wish you all the best for that.
Thank you so much, Bhav.